The Ekurhuleni Mayor, Tanya Campbell, has conceded defeat after being ousted in a motion of no confidence yesterday. The ANC-led motion saw 100 votes in favour of 93 against it. The party accused the outgoing mayor of failing to deliver adequate services to communities. The EFF abstained from the vote, and to tell us why, we're joined in studio by the party's Gauteng chairperson, Nkululeko Dunga. A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time. Welcome.
Thank you.
DA member Tania Campbell will have to clean her desk following what has happened. 100 councillors voting in favour of her removal, while 93 voting against her ousting. And you abstained. Why?
Yes. Well, to be fair to the organisation in taking the EFF serious as well, is that we had no choice but to abstain on the basis that neither the ANC or the DA officially engaged the EFF pertaining to the tabling of this motion and the discussion thereof. Ordinarily, what would happen in council is that, like the EFF, who have consistently brought motions into council, would put to confidence the DA in the support and the understanding of the perspective of the motion and what it seeks to achieve. Would do the same thing to the ANC, because we understand that majority of council has got to adopt it so that it can then be implemented. In this case, the DA opted not to engage the political organization of the EFF into putting them into confidence as to why the motion should not be supported, and most probably thought that it would be automatic, that our support would then come from there. Neither did the ANC engage the EFF officially through its organizational structures into putting us into confidence as to why it necessitates that the motion be tabled. Now, in majority, most of the issues that are brought by the motion of the ANC in terms of content are always matters and issues that the EFF has always brought up against the administration of the former Mayor Tania Campbell, which is the racial profiling of service delivery and the prioritization of white and suburban areas as opposed to black communities. You would know that when the Tembisa protest came through, it was the EFF that went to actually go and engage and compel her to go and speak to the people of Tembisa. However, when the same situation arose in Primrose, it took her less than 24 hours to actually engage the white community there. So these are just some of the concerns that we've always had, and the austerity budget constraints that she had then implemented, we've always had an issue with it. But primarily the EFF always supported the establishment of a stable government, a government that can equate to proper service delivery, particularly to the majority of our people who remain in dire conditions in the city of Ekurhuleni.
With all the concerns that you're raising, one would have assumed that you would have not abstained and actually voted. But there was also an understanding that throughout the past few weeks, the EFF was said to be in talks with the ANC. What happened to those discussions? Yeah.
Look, we feel that the motion brought by the ANC was extremely premature and derives from a leadership that is extremely excited. I mean, you look at the city of Joburg and how the coalition of the ANC there actually tabled the motion to come into council for the ousting of the now brought back in Mpho. It's just excitement. And in this case, in the city of Ekurhuleni, they have extended sort of that excitement, because I don't think that they are comfortable with the fact that they would still not be in charge of the city of Ekurhuleni or be in charge of state resources going towards another year of December. Probably they just want to elevate themselves in society for the festive season and so forth, and for political posture and societal posture as we head towards the festive season. There's nothing genuine about, in as much as the content of the motion has substance in terms of genuinity, there's nothing genuine about the posture of the ANC. I mean, you look at the ANC that is moving towards a motion of no confidence against Tanya Campbell for her conduct and how she dealt with the issue of Tembisa. Yet it's the same ANC, by characteristic in nature in Parliament, that refuses to hold Cyril Ramaphosa to account for for all those monies there that he had hidden under his pillow and under the couch in Palapala, smacks of an organization that is hypocritical. And we do not want to engage in a political battle that we have no understanding of, because both the ANC and the DA, by the way, have the same puppet handlers all the way from Stellenbosch. And who knows, perhaps the engagement and the fight is beyond just what is written on paper. Now, also, it's an open secret that we did have an engagement with the ANC, particularly in the province. And our engagement, more than anything, was we understand that the ANC holds a large chunk of majority of representation as a political organization in Gauteng. And so from time to time, again, the EFF will always engage stakeholders of society to try and find reasoning and ways that we can best implement in ensuring that there is economic freedom in our lifetime. So
the DA has accused the ANC of being power hungry and also trying to milk the city dry. I mean, we heard this from Mpopalati herself during that takeover, that before her reinstatement. Are you of the same sentiment?
We definitely are, but we're of the same sentiments even with the DA. That's why they're able to actually even bulldoze and sort of bully their own coalition partners to amass strategic positions even within their coalition agreements and so forth. I mean, even in the element of corruption, you are sitting with the city of Tshwane, where the mayor of Tshwane has been found through recordings wanting to interfere in the tendering process. That is corruption to us as the EFF. So there is no difference between the two, and we do agree, by the way, in that anything that seeks to achieve anything outside of effective service delivery smacks of both organizations that are just in it for self-gratification.
And it's almost like a back and forth here, because we heard Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi speaking yesterday, saying that under the DA, the Ekurhuleni city budget is in turmoil, that they have to choose between paying Eskom or employees.
True. You would also understand that the administration of Masina, when they got in 2016, the city in itself had a surplus of about 7 billion rand. Today, we can't even have 15 days of just liquidity as a city. This is what the current administration then had to deal with, starting in November. But our problem, not only is that the administration of Masina looted and mismanaged funds in the extreme, because from 7 billion to almost next to nothing, 400 million or so, sitting with us, is that the current administration did absolutely nothing in the 11 months to actually try and correct what would be a serious financial misconduct by the city, because that's what the Auditor General at most times identified, to say that, look, you've got to at least hit the 21 days in terms of what you have in your accounts as a city of Ekurhuleni, and we currently do not have that. But nothing was done by the city in this current administration.
Let's go back to why you abstained again. I mean, you speak about not being engaged enough, yet you vent out the frustrations of the residents, talking about service delivery matters being of concern to you, about the priorities when it comes to Tanya Campbell and black townships, and as opposed to Primrose. But you didn't vote. What sort of engagement would you have needed, or are you also just playing politics?
No, we always put the interest of society well ahead of the personal interest of any of our organization, because we are embedded in ensuring that society at least has stability. Now, we would have appreciated any organization that would come to us and give us a proposition in terms of how they would effectively deal with the matters that we've always brought before them. Ideologically as well, we also have a stance, like for an example, the council sitting that we had yesterday, by the way, which was just the last straw as well from ourselves as the EFF, is that council adopted a motion for the insourcing of security guards and cleaners. And we're supposed to have received a feasibility study on the best financial model to implement. Now, this administration of the DA, from what we then saw, was that they were actually managing the EFF in the adoption of the motion, is that they then bring a feasibility study that speaks of something completely different, and the unfeasibility of actually implementing a motion that has been adopted by council. So these were some of the things that we would have raised had they brought the matters to us. And by the way, it's the very same motion that the ANC had rejected. So even ideologically, there are some certain things that we can find resonance with one another from, but it requires an engagement and a political engagement that is. And outside of politics, we would have appreciated to have an engagement so that we can really air our dissatisfaction over and above the dissatisfaction that we've always aired pertaining to the frustrations that we have received. Because administratively, there are certain things that we can do and still achieve as the EFF, even in opposition. When there are sewage blockages and so forth, we can always command that those be fixed in the immediate and then do the follow-up and therefore and so forth. So
is this an indication, you abstaining, is this an indication of your nature looking at other metros and your relationship with the ANC when it comes to coalition agreements? Well, I wouldn't be able to speak on coalition government because the EFF is not in any coalition agreement with any political organization. We understand that there must be an element of co-governance because we coexist in this ecosystem of politics, particularly in representation in councils. Okay, very well. Thank you so much. Let's leave it there for now. We're going to have to leave it there. EFF Gauteng chairperson Nkululeko Dunga speaking to some of the reasons why the EFF abstained yesterday when it came to Tanya Campbell, who will now have to leave office as she was ousted yesterday. 100 councillors voting in favour of her removal, while 93 councillors voted against, and the EFF abstaining. Let's, of course, leave it there for now. And